Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico.
Good morning.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
How they hanging?
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, that's when we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or a topic you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show. Remember, you're not buying a question, you're just sending in a tip. And as a little thank you, we're going to read off your question. You can send in that question to our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news about the tip link. If you happen to be listening to this show later in the day on our podcast feed, say on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this show or videos a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question to the tip link. It's good 24/7. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get this Thursday started with this. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan's new movie Sinners, which we've all just been salivating about since we first heard about it and just losing our minds over ever since we saw the trailers for it. Well, it's coming out in just a little bit here, and the reviews are now out, and they're perfect. Right now, Sinners, with the big outlets having now submitted all the reviews, is holding a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I doubt it's going to hold 100%. Somebody's not going to like it. That's fine. But as you're going to see, these 35 reviews that are in there are all from like a lot of the major outlets and stuff like that. And they're looking really good. And here's the thing. You know how we were talking about the accountant yesterday? Not the accountant, I'm sorry, the amateur yesterday?
The amateur, yeah.
And we mentioned that, you know, the ones that like it don't seem to love it, and the ones that dislike it don't seem to hate it. But not only are these all positive reviews, they're glowing. Listen to this. The good folks over at Coming Soon write, Coogler's keen eye for social commentary and the ability to craft a must-see theatrical experience allow Sinners to be far better than your average horror fare. IGN wrote, Ryan Coogler enters the horror realm and nails it in Sinners, which drops vampires into a deeply personal, heartfelt, emotional, sexy, and bloody story that'll stick with you. United Press wrote, Coogler assures viewers that they're in the hands of a filmmaker guiding them through both simple and complex ideas. AU Review writes, a gory, horny, I love that, relevant reflection on Black culture and artistry. Discussing Film wrote, Sinners is Ryan Coogler's most audacious work yet, creating a fresh spin on vampire horror stories to express deeply rich themes of stolen culture and appropriation. MovieWeb wrote, Sinners brilliantly illustrates Black life in the violently and poverty-stricken Jim Crow segregated South while portraying a vibrant cultural landscape brimming with music. It is a must-see blockbuster that will blow audiences out of their chairs. Chalice over at Black Girl Nerds wrote, in a world where dry sequels and repeat remakes are churned out left and right, it can pose a challenge to curate a fresh take on a familiar theme like vampires. But that poses no problem for Sinners as it redefines what it means to be a horror film. And it just goes on and on and on. Vanity Fair, wrote, Sinners is propulsive and stirring entertainment, messy but always compelling. The film's fascinating array of genres and tropes and ideas swirls together in a way that is, I suppose, singularly American. IndieWire wrote, a bloody, muscular barrelhouse of a vampire movie that throbs like a neck of a blues guitar on fire. Ryan Coogler's Sinners might be the first story the Creed director has ripped straight from his own guts. The USA Today wrote, with Sinners, an inimitable auteur makes the most of every surrealist detail and crafts a fright fest that's musical and meaningful, mesmerizing, and memorable. And again, that's it. I'll read the Hollywood Reporters. As much art house as grindhouse. It's a blood-drenched mixtape that shouldn't work, but it does. Thanks to Coogler's muscular direction, a terrific cast, enveloping IMAX visuals, body quaking sound, music, and stirs the soul. Now look, you can have a movie. This is actually the brilliance and the genius of Rotten Tomatoes, is that you can have a movie that's 90%, but like you can have it where all the 90% knows, yeah, that's pretty good. You know, the 90% just tells us that it's not a 9 out of 10 movie. It just tells us that, hey, you have a pretty good chance of liking it because 90% of the critics who saw it at least like it. But it doesn't necessarily mean they love it. 100% is great, but it's when you start reading the actual breakdown. And people are losing their minds. And we're not talking about Gus's gas station reviews.fart sites like mine. We're talking about the Hollywood Reporter. We're talking about Deadline. We're talking about IndieWire. We're talking about Vanity Fair. I mean, and they're all just like losing their minds over this thing. Rob, we've seen the trailers. We saw previews for it at CinemaCon last year, all that kind of stuff. It looked like it promised something very special, but could go either way. Sounds like they delivered. What do you think about the reviews we're hearing, and where are your expectations right now?
Well, you know, yesterday I was telling you I read an interview. I don't know if it was in Variety or Hollywood Reporter. I read an interview. I think it was with, God, I forget his name, but with Ryan Coogler. And it was one of the more impressive interviews that I've read with a filmmaker. Really perceptive. He talked about a lot of his influences for Sinners, and that interview and listening to him talk got me really, I was already excited to see this movie because I think Ryan Coogler is I mean, look, the guy made a Black Panther movie without Black Panther, and it almost made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Fruitvale Station's an incredible film. And
that's the film that really put him on the map.
Yeah, put him on the map. But the fact that he also went to Sly Stallone and said, I'd like to make a Rocky movie where you're not the star. And was able to not only make it, not only convince Sly to do it, but then also get Sly an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, this guy is the real deal. And the fact that Sinners, there's a couple of things. One, totally original. And if you listen to him talk about his influences, and it's the kind of movie that they mentioned, the fact that it has to do with black culture during the Jim Crow South. It's exactly the kind of thing that only a filmmaker like Ryan Coogler could make. And it has so many bits of things that he's passionate about rolled into one. And the way he talked about horror films, I'm like, this guy is just my spirit animal. So I'm excited there. But also something else. This is also a Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdi greenlit project. If this movie works at the box office, this is exactly what Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi wanted to turn Warner Brothers into. They had a rough go of it. You know, they hadn't been making any money. Minecraft was a huge hit for them. If they can follow that up with an original film from an original filmmaker that they want to build a relationship with, this is great news for Warner Brothers. And it's great news for what they're trying to do. And I really hope that this movie goes through the roof, becomes a cause celeb. Everybody who's going to run to see this, hopefully in IMAX or whatever. I think this is exactly the kind of movie that we as movie fans want. And it's great for us moving forward in a sea of IP and a sea of sequels to get a real original vision from a great filmmaker with a studio behind it. You can't do better than that, man.
Yeah. I still question how much it can make, because at the end of the day, regardless of how good it is, and it sounds like it's amazing, it is an R-rated violent vampire movie. Not everybody's cup of tea. So, like, this isn't going to be, I don't believe this is going to be like a $700 million
Could you say that one more time?
How did I say that? An R-rated violent vampire film.
Dude, that to me.
Oh, I know. That's catnip to us. I mean, and it directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Haley Steinfeld and Michael B. Jordan.
Oh my God.
I read the script. I'm pretty sure there's ninjas in it too.
And ninjas show up at the end to clear the vampires out of the town. I mean, if this movie can make like 400 million, 500 million, you're right. It's like for Abdi and Luca, DeLuca, I mean, you could look at Minecraft as a fluke.
Right.
But you're right. If they can follow that up now with another bona fide hit, 400 million, 500 million, whatever.
Startlingly
they'll be
original.
A much better, very original, other than it's a vampire movie. But yeah, very, very original. It'll put them on much better footing. So it's going to be interesting to see. All I know is I cannot wait to see this movie.
I know.
Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? As of right now, Sinners, the full reviews are coming out. Most of the major trades have submitted them, and it's holding a 100%, but it's not just a 100%. They're all raving about it. Like, they are all just losing their minds about it. Are you excited for this film? Maybe violent vampire horny movies aren't
Say it
for you.
again, John. Say it again.
Violent vampire horny movies, as one of the critics put it. Maybe that's not for you, but yeah, it's for me. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's talk about this, shall we? There's a lawsuit right now going on between a couple of fans and a video game manufacturer of a game called The Crew. I remember The Crew. I don't know that I ever played The Crew, but there it was. But it's kind of now becoming symbolic of a larger philosophical and legal question that's going on in the world of film fandom as well as game fandom, which is, do you and should you actually own the media you buy? Now, obviously, this has been a question a lot for people who buy their films digitally. I have still not had any issues with any of the movies I've bought over the past 10 years, but some people have. But it's also a question for people who even own physical copies of stuff. The thing at hand here, according to IGN, is Ubisoft's The Crew lawsuit insists that we do not own the games that we buy. Now, I want to get into the meat of it here. I'm going to read a little bit at length. And this is video game. We're going to talk about how this all connects to movies as well. At the end of last year, two gamers took Ubisoft to court, stating that they had been under the impression that they were paying to own and possess the video game The Crew instead of paying for a limited license to use The Crew. Now, you got to understand, they bought a physical copy of this game, but they can no longer play it. Because in order for the game to work, it has to connect to Ubisoft servers. They have discontinued it, and now they own a paperweight. Doesn't do anything for them. So they brought them to court. Anyway, it continues. Imagine you buy a pinball machine, and years later, you enter your den to go play it, only to discover that all of the paddles are missing. The pinball and bumpers are gone, and the monitor that proudly displayed your unassailable high score is removed. The initial lawsuit read. As spotted by Polygon, the claimants accuse Ubisoft of violating California's false advertising law, unfair competition law, and Consumer Legal Remedies Act, as well as common law fraud and breach of warranties claim. They also suggest Ubisoft broke California state law around gift cards, which are not allowed to expire. All right. Now, Ubisoft, without reading through all of it, their basic response is this. We made it very clear that you are not buying the game outright. You are buying a limited license. Actually, in California, under the governor here, they passed a law where now even like Stream Deck has to put, you probably noticed this if you've gone to buy games on Stream Deck. They now have to put up clear language. You're buying a license. You're not necessarily buying the game. You're buying the license. And this lawsuit could be a game changer one way or the other. If this court, and I have no reason to believe they will, but if this court were to say find in favor of the Platons, which again, I don't think they will, but if they did, that could send shocks through the home video, home entertainment, and video game industry, and people are going to have to start changing the way they do it. But now let's bring this all into the idea of movies. I think all of us acknowledge that when, say, we buy a DVD, we don't own the movie. I mean, if I owned it, I could make as many copies of it as I liked. I could take it out onto the street and sell it to people for $5 a shot. I could take the video from it, put a different color on it, and resell it to movie theaters and say, this is my movie. So obviously we know that pure total ownership has never been part of buying a game or buying a DVD or buying a VHS or Blu-ray or whatever. Like, we've always known that. But we have, as consumers, always had the impression that once I buy it, it's mine to keep. You can't come and take it away from me. But we've been seeing more and more that companies like the idea that they can. As a matter of fact, Rob, it goes beyond video games and movies. I own a couple of Teslas. Something I feel very mixed about lately, but I've owned them for years, so whatever. But I own a couple of Teslas. Do you know what would happen to my cars if suddenly Tesla shut down business tomorrow and they turned off their servers and they turned off their way for the car to communicate with the thing? I would own bricks. I would own bricks. I don't even think the car would run. And like, there's now printers. Hey, did you see these reports? Like, there's lawsuits going on because printers now won't work even if you own the printer and you bought the ink and all that kind of stuff. Oh, you didn't pay your membership fee, and they can digitally from a distance tell your printer not to work. And it won't work for you, despite the fact that you bought it and you bought the ink and you did all that kind of stuff. Or if you put different kind of ink in it. No, you didn't buy our ink. We're from Seattle. We're going to turn off your printer. I mean, it's becoming a bigger thing. But in talking about the movies, they even introduced, I remember at CES a little while ago, I can't remember which of the companies introduced, and they were going to show it off to the studios, a disc player, but your disc player had to be connected to the internet. And what would happen is when you would put in a disc, the disc player would read some metadata on the disc, communicate that to the servers, and if the studio decided, no, we don't want that movie out there anymore, even if you own the disc, your player wouldn't be able to play the disc. We are becoming a subscription-based society in many ways. So anyway, Rob, look, we have no answers for this right here, right now, but I mean, we're looking at this lawsuit that could have major implications depending on how the judge rules. Is this just something, is even physical media becoming doomed to die? This. How do you see this, and how important do you think this case is?
Well, I think the case is really important, actually. But, you know, it first started with computer software. You know, obviously Adobe, if you want to have an Adobe subscription, a Microsoft Office or whatever subscription. And it used to be that you'd buy a disc and you would own that disc and you could use the program for however long you wanted to use it. And then the computer companies said, nope, you buy our software from us and you pay a subscription fee. That way they're always going to get you. There's nothing they can do. Oh, yeah. Nothing you can do.
I've given Adobe thousands of dollars.
Which is why I like DaVinci Resolve. But anyway, yes.
But yeah, I mean, and I understand why they're doing that. It's a good business model, and they're always updating their software. But when it comes to things like games, and look, I can't stand in-game purchases. They really put me off. It really put me off video games. I mean, I have a PlayStation 5 and I have an Xbox X. And a lot of the games, like I remember being excited for the Hot Wheels game that came out. But you couldn't get past the first level without paying money to upgrade your car. And I'm like, this is no fun. It's not. But I get it. I get it's a way of making money. But at the end of the day, look, as a large physical media collector, like you just pointed out, if you have a Blu-ray player or a 4K player, you still have to update your firmware. It's basically a computer. A Blu-ray is basically a computer program.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, they could shut you down and make your physical media not play. I mean, you can disconnect your player from the internet, but it might not work if you don't upgrade the firmware. So I understand where it's coming from. And we're in a transitional, eventually everything's going to be digital. It's all going to be a subscription service. I understand that. But right now, I think this game that they bought in 2009, the fact that it doesn't work anymore, when they bought that game, there was no expectation that it would stop working.
That someday they would just turn it off. Yeah.
Right.
What's that?
Well, I was gonna say, like, if they made it clear that it was just a license to the game, I imagine they charged $50, $60 for the game. Why charge that much then? I mean, like, or give the consumer an option to, if maybe just charge them like $15 a month to play the game, right? But at least
but they don't. They're not going to do that
because if your game is shit, people will only play for a month and then never play it again and cancel their subscription.
Remember just a year or two ago, Spotify made that in-car physical do thingy that you'd put on and became a physical thing that you could play that you pay. I can't remember how much it cost. It wasn't cheap. The problem was it's completely connected to the online service, and Spotify decided like 4 or 5 months after they sold them, we don't want to service that anymore. And they turned it off and those devices became bricks. Now, I think Spotify did offer, in their defense, they offered refunds or stuff like that. But again, it's just another thing that even freaking all this stuff,
my beloved Zune.
Yeah, I still got my Zune, baby. But there's been this kind of refrain that, well, one of the reasons why I don't want to buy digital is because I want to have a physical copy, so it'll always be mine. That ain't the case anymore.
But-
even if you have physical copies.
I think the problem with this game too is like it was so heavily dependent on the internet. Like I remember Halo 2. There's these two players that stayed in a Halo 2 match. They left their Xboxes on just because the server was going to shut down. So they continued to keep their Xboxes on, and they were on there for a long time. And then they eventually got off, and then there's no more Halo 2 online play. But you could still play Halo 2, the single player game, from the disc. And so you still had the game, right?
You still had single player game.
Yeah.
But again, even then, they can now digitally tell their machines, if they want to, don't allow these discs to operate.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see how cases like, I don't think these guys are going to win this case. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. It sounds like they did follow the laws, and the laws has got to be changed. I think the laws have to be changed.
One of the things in there that I thought was interesting, in the state of California, gift cards don't expire.
Yes.
And they had that in there. They're like, that's part of it. Like these, you shouldn't, how can these game licenses expire just because you don't want to support them anymore?
Yeah. Which makes it tricky for game companies, because like if you're making games where those games rely on you to continue to pay money to operate servers and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, at some point might not want to run it. So it's
Right.
this is why I like standalone games, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, question is for you. What do you think about this whole mess, and how it could affect your personal library of things? Will it influence how you make purchase decisions moving forward? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Tom Hiddleston, of course, the guy who plays Loki, has been so iconic in the MCU. A while ago said, when asked, are you going to be in the new Avengers movies? He said, I don't know. Well, he didn't technically lie, I guess. And then when we found out during Chair Watch that Tom Hiddleston's name is there, he's going to be in there. But now, it sounds like he might even be implying even Doomsday isn't going to be it for him. Variety just ran an article saying Tom Hiddleston on Loki's return to Avengers Doomsday says his time in the MCU is not over yet. It goes on to write this. Tom Hiddleston is teasing what's next for Loki in the upcoming MCU epic Avengers Doomsday. While speaking with Comic Book, Hiddleston shared his excitement to reunite with the Russo brothers for their latest installment of the Marvel franchise. I'm very, very excited, Hiddleston said. It's really remarkable that I can talk about it because mostly I'm in a position of knowing and not being able to say anything. It's been an extraordinary chapter of my life playing Loki, and it's not over yet. Okay. There are two possibilities here, and I think both are equally valid points of view. The one possibility, the one way to interpret what he's saying is when he says it's not over yet, saying, hey, I'm excited because it's not over yet because I'm doing Doomsday, right? I could totally understand seeing it that way. 100%, 100%. But I don't know. The way I read it, when he says it's been like an incredible chapter when I'm playing Loki and it's not over yet. I believe that Tom Hiddleston just kind of let it slip that there are plans for Loki beyond the next Avengers movie. And now, again, could be totally wrong about that. He might simply be referring to Doomsday. And if he is, totally get it. And if that's what you believe, I wouldn't try to correct you. I think there's good reason to believe that. But for me, I mean, really, Loki in many ways, like we talk about the OG Avengers, we're talking about Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye. But really, Loki is one of those too. I mean, Loki was there in one of the very first MCU movies in Thor, directed by Kenneth Branagh, I believe the second most underrated comic book film of all time. And then, of course, he was the lead villain in the first Avengers movie. I still believe the most important comic book movie of all time, because that's really what set up what the MCU was to become. And he's really such a vital part. And Rob, I'm just saying, I read it, and I'm just saying for me, and I could totally be wrong. And I won't be surprised if I am, but to me, it sounds like he's saying there's plans for Loki above and beyond Doomsday. Anyway, you read his words. What do you think about his statement?
Well, I'm working my way through I have the Secret Wars and the Secret Wars Battle World omnibuses, and there's a character. Let's just say that I can see them using God Loki in that to fulfill a part of that story that another character in the comics fulfilled. But he's got to be in both of those movies if he's,
Depending on how they're handling it.
Yeah, depending on what they're doing. I would imagine, I mean, he's a huge part in terms of where they've left him in the MCU from his own series to go into these movies. And I have to say, when I think about the Avengers movies, and Loki was, I mean, look, he led the Chitauri attack against New York in the first one. I mean, to me, he and Thor are like cornerstones of the MCU. As much
100% agree.
As much as I hated Love and Thunder, man, by the way, I watched that again and I hated it even more. and I love Ragnarok, but Loki's a big part of the MCU, and Tom Hiddleston's so great in that role. I mean, I can't imagine not having him in an Avengers movie. I mean, he's just so great. Mewling Quim, Puny God. I mean, all that stuff. It's so good.
When we were talking about this before, but when you look at some pillars of narrative in the stories of Secret Wars, right? At the heart of it is Molecule Man.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
And it would just, with the way Loki season 2 ended, with him holding all the threads of multiverse and reality, that becomes a very easy replacement. That it's somehow, some way, Doom gets his hands on Loki, puts him into the White Room, and that becomes
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I can guarantee you they're going to do that.
And then at some point, Spider-Man's got to come in with the hamburger in his pocket, and then it'll just be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, while we always have ripped on the fact who are the Avengers, which we still don't know, I am very excited for Doomsday and Secret Wars. Only because the 4 Avengers movies, I've loved them all. And I want to look forward to these. I believe that these movies are going to be just as good as the other 4 Avengers movies. I hope.
I do too. I mean, look, notwithstanding, a lot of times the discussion comes up about the Russo brothers' track record since Endgame. I'll be the first one to say it. I'm the biggest fan of these guys, and I'll be the first one to say it. Hasn't been impressive. Not impressive. But again, every single time, and it's not like they've only done it once or twice. They did it 4 times. Every single time, the Russo brothers have partnered with Kevin Feige. The results have all been not good, not great. They've been world-class. Every single time. Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. Every time. And so I have no reason to believe that magic is still going to be there.
I'm like Morgan Freeman at the end of Shawshank. I hope.
We're going to find our own little San Juanejo, everybody. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Tom Hiddleston is saying, I'm not just back, but my time isn't over yet. Do you interpret that as him just talking about the new Avengers films, or do you interpret it the way I am, that he's actually referring to something going beyond the Avengers films? Could be right, could be wrong. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Thunderbolts is nigh. I mean, it is right on top of us now, just a couple of weeks away. Cannot wait. But lest you forget, there's another Marvel movie coming out this year, a little film called Fantastic Four that has already a great theme score. I love the score. I actually love it more and more. Anyway, the good folks over at Entertainment Weekly have just put out a new cover article about the upcoming Fantastic Four, where they put out a bunch of new stills. We're going to look at them. But then they also talk about Galactus being an actual actor in an actual suit, an actual practical costume for Galactus. We're going to read that in a second. First, let's go over to Entertainment Weekly and take a look at some of the images. There's just a cast picture, so that's cool. I'm just going to scroll a bunch of these. They put a little bit of the video in there. That looks great. It's still hard to see him as the dude from Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
From right,
Eddie Munson.
He just does not look like him anymore. Anyway, we continue down. There are more pictures here. I love the color tones here too. The suits are great.
Right out of the 60s.
Then again, a little family moment. By the way, she was perfect to choose as Sue Storm. I've been getting more and more excited for Eben Moss-Bachrach. I think he's going to just kill it in this. Again, more stuff of looking
That's
at.
their Fantastic Four suits, space suits.
Is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, 'cause
Oh
it's
yeah,
set-
because the coloring's different. You're right. They got the 4 on there
And
on the
one's
belts
larger
too.
for the thing.
Yep. Probably when they're going to go out and confront Galactus, I guess.
Like
I don't
this-
know.
Look at this silver records.
That's pretty cool.
Those laser discs, my
Yeah,
friends.
I was like Laserdisc, but I think they're supposed to be silver.
I think you're
records.
right. Silver records, metallic records. Again, a little bit more. Look, even got a little Fantastic Four
Yeah.
notebook.
Very corporate.
Another look at Pedro Pascal. I mean, a lot of this is just them. We're not
Sure.
seeing any of them in their superhero game. So, but now let's go over and take a look at where they're talking about Galactus. Okay. Franklin in particular, we're going to start a little bit early in this article because this was interesting. Franklin in particular, that's of course of Reed and Sue's son, has long been a subject of fascination for Galactus, the devourer of worlds, who does indeed come calling in first steps. Anyway, then he goes on to this. Galactus was introduced, this is where it gets interesting, in a 2-part comic story by Lee and Kirby that remains the high point of their first collaboration. But when he was brought to the screen in 2007's Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, Galactus was in his best form, rendered as a faceless space cloud. By the way, I'm kidding, that was not his best form. A rejection of the comic's colorful origins. In First Steps, Galactus will be portrayed by actor Ralph Ineson from Nosferatu, wearing actual purple and blue armor. The costume workshop on set is full of various attempts at making his signature look work. I didn't want to just use motion capture for Galactus. I wanted to actually have someone there embodying the part, director Shackman says. So we built an entire costume for him, and we've done a lot of photography testing to figure out how do you make sure that the scale is correct? How do you film Mount Rushmore? Now, one of the key comments in there is that he said, we didn't just want it to be digital, right? So I think we're definitely going to see some CGI
Sure.
Galactus. But the very idea that some of it is actually just going to be Ralph in a suit, I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that. Anyway, Rob, you saw the pictures. What do you think of them? And what do you think about Matt Shackman saying, I wanted some of it to actually just be an actor in a suit? How do you see
Well,
that?
I think, you want an actor to interact with your other characters. Like, how do you... I mean, Galactus is like a dude. He can talk.
He's like,
I hunger, and I think that you have to have some kind of way to interact. I love the fact that they did that. I hope there's some behind the scenes footage on the disc or whatever of
Oh, yeah.
seeing the interactivity of Galactus. But I can understand why Shackman wanted that. I mean, I get that. I want to see it. Like, look, I look at this picture. Who doesn't want to see that? Although Galactus looks to me a bit small.
Of course, he can
in this-
scale, though.
Yeah, he
scale.
can get bigger and smaller, maybe. But I'm deliriously excited for this movie, and I think it looks to me like they've really captured a tone. I love what Shackman did with WandaVision. I think that this is going to be a really, really good movie. The one thing I'm not totally sold on Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards yet, but admittedly, we haven't seen much of him, like talking in character.
yeah.
We haven't seen any of his powers. We haven't seen any of that. But I want to believe. I want a Morgan Freeman this. Shawshank, I hope. I want it to be great. And it looks, everything they're showing us looks good. I mean, it does. Look at these costumes. It looks good to me.
Yeah.
And I hope it has that feel to it. And it looks different. And it looks like something we haven't seen in the MCU before. And I'll watch anything with astronauts. Doesn't matter what it is. Like
Astronauts or ninjas.
Astronauts or ninjas. And, preferably ninja astronauts. But I will watch anything that goes. And the fact that they have a spaceship in it that looks like the first spaceship on Venus, I love that. I love it. I love everything about this.
I often have people, whenever I bring up the fact that I am very much looking forward to Fantastic Four. I'm actually more excited for Thunderbolts, but I'm very excited for Fantastic Four. People often will ask me, well, John, there are 4 other Fantastic Four movies, and they're all bad. Like, why do you have any faith in this? Is it just because it's at Marvel? I said, no, like it being at Marvel certainly helps. Marvel has certainly made way more wins than losses. But for me, it still comes down to Matt Shackman. It all comes down to the director for me. You know, this is the guy who kind of helmed WandaVision, which I still think is one of the is the best thing that Marvel has done on television so far. And I just believe it because of that. And so far, what we've seen all looks really good. It's going to be interesting to see how good or bad it turns out.
You know what this Fantastic Four has that the other Fantastic Fours didn't have?
Pedro Pascal.
Well, not just that, but it has the context of the larger MCU.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't take place in the 616 world, we have over 30 feature films of the kind of thing that we're going to get. Like even the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, I never believed the characters. Like I'm looking at these actors, I never thought that they totally inhabited the roles. You know, I mean, Michael Chiklis was pretty great as the Thing, but it was, I never felt immersed. And I look at these photographs, they've clearly modeled these photographs on like the early Mercury astronaut photographs of them getting, like John Glenn getting suited up. They've even got the same angles, the same pictures. And I'm like, okay, there's something going on here that has not existed in the previous Fantastic Four films. And that alone makes me excited. I'm excited, man. I'm not going to deny it. I want this movie to be great.
Yeah,
I really do.
Why am I blanking on the name of the movie? It not Space Cowboys, like going way back. The
Right Stuff.
The Right Stuff.
The
One
Right
of the greatest
Stuff.
movies ever made.
So I'm trying to think of the right.
Come on,
Stuff.
Warner Brothers. Where's that 4K
By the way,
Dolby
you
Atmos
did just
disc?
put a smile on my face by mentioning Space Cowboys.
Yeah,
I love Space
I
Cowboys.
love
that was my
Space
linear path
Cowboys.
to the right stuff.
It like the final shot of Space Cowboys.
They're both Warner Brothers.
With he was the colonel in the first Captain America movie. Three names.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
I think like that movie ends with just Tommy Lee Jones sitting on the moon looking at Earth.
Just like a
Probably already dead at that point.
Right.
Still, I used to like that movie a lot. And Ray, you're gonna like this.
What?
Matt Shackman, who directed this also to WandaVision. You know what else he directed?
What is that, John?
Monarch. Well, he directed a number of episodes of Monarch. He directed episodes of Succession, of Game of Thrones, American Gothic. I mean, he's just really good, and I can't wait to see what he brings to this movie.
I'm on board with this Fantastic Four film. I love just the whole look of it. Just even the car going down the street. I'm feeling this other world that it's supposed to be in, or like a different time it's supposed
Universe,
to be in.
yeah.
It's the one thing I hope for is like the city or the world they're living in to be just as alive as a Matt Reeves Gotham. A little bit.
Yeah.
Sort of that.
Way,
Make me feel like I'm there with them and not just watching like
Sure.
from outside looking in. This
Yes.
like let me feel like I'm there. I totally love the astronaut suits because they look so flimsy. Like they're not going to space, but that's the way
They're
I
not
felt.
suits of armor.
That's
They look
that's
real.
how I felt when I watched us going to the moon. Like that.
Jonathan,
Are you sure those suits are gonna hold?
can you go back one picture
Yeah.
of the New York skyline? Look in the foreground. Look at those circular buildings.
Yeah, those buildings there.
You know,
Yeah.
that which I never really noticed before, but that's really cool.
And I'm still gonna go on point and say that music to the trailer
Oh, yeah.
creeps me the hell out. Like it's just like
Oh, when they
it's
debuted
like
it at the Hollywood Bowl, I was sold.
like
Oh,
a dream.
God,
Like it's
I-
like a dream sequence.
I felt Ann and I were there at the home, and when what's the director of Werewolf by Night again? Michael Giacchino.
Yeah.
Michael Giacchino comes out and goes, "We got a little something we want to play for you." This is at the big show there, and they played that Fantastic Four music for the first time, and I'm like, "This is really good."
Yeah.
I don't know if that means the movie's going to be good, but anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about the new images we just saw for Fantastic Four? I mean, none of them in their superhero guys, but still some pretty good ones. And what do you think about the idea that Matt Shackman actually wanted to have a practical suit for Galactus that we're going to see, I guess, intercut with a digital Galactus? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the big questions around a lot of movie fandom is where the hell is the Batman 2? I mean, didn't it come out? When did it come out? 2022? I think it was 2022. I'm
Yeah.
terrible with dates, but we're now like 3 years since it came out.
Yeah, 2022.
2022. And, here we are 3 years later, still kind of nothing really solid. Now, Matt Reeves, we've talked about this in the show, does have a bit of a reputation around town of not only being brilliant, but also being a little slow. And missing deadlines is not exactly a new thing for him. That happens. But there have been a number of reports going around online, and new ones just came out today, suggesting that Matt Reeves may have been struggling lately with a health issue. According to Comic Book Movie, saying a situation is even close to being a Chadwick Boseman situation. Now, somebody's health is their own private business. We're not going to sit here and dissect what his health issues are, but that's fine. I would say this. If the reports going around are true, it's like, hey, he's been struggling a bit. He's had a health issue that he's been wrestling with. Well, I'll tell you what, if the studio were just to come out and say that, or if Matt were to come out and say that, that ends all the wondering. And then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, totally get it. I mean, listen, Dennis and I went to Las Vegas once after I did a 24-hour marathon, and I got deathly sick. I missed months of movie talk. Missed months. But the audience understood. I said, hey, guys, I got sick. I'm struggling with this. Hell, I had a heart attack. I was training in Muay Thai with UFC legendary fighter James the Sandman Irvin, came out of the class, and I had 2 heart attacks in like the span of a half hour. So I missed a little bit of time at work. Guess what? Everybody understood. Everybody understood that I had a little bit of a hard time at work. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. Professional athletes. When like LeBron James isn't going to play in a game, well, they tell people he's not going to be playing a game. He's got an injury or he's got the flu. He's under the weather, whatever. They don't go deep into his personal medical issues. Well, what's his temperature right now? No, we just say, hey, he's got a health issue right now. Can't play tonight. Great. Everybody goes on. It does raise an interesting question for me, though, Rob. I got to say that even if these reports that are going around are true, which, by the way, we cannot confirm that they are. This is just something that's been whispered for a little while, and a couple of outlets have kind of started repeating those today. So we can't verify that he is or not, but let's say he was. Number one, it kind of explains everything. Oh, okay, yeah, it's taking him some time to get the Batman going. Totally understandable. But if that's true, here's a philosophical question. With the property not really being Matt Reeves' property, the Batman was around a long time before you and I or Matt Reeves. And with literally thousands of production jobs of people waiting with their count, like holding off work and stuff like that, because this is going to be a movie that's going to have thousands of people working on it and millions of fans around the world. Here's a question. And I'm not saying I have an answer to it. I'm just posing the question. At some point with a property like this, that is what did the first movie make? Like $700 million?
Yeah.
This could potentially be $1 billion film. Is there an argument to be made that the studio and maybe Matt Reeves should say, you know what? I'm laid up for a bit. I want to get over this, whatever it is I've got, if he has anything at all. Get started without me. Let's bring in another writer. Let me give them my notes. And let's get work started. Let's get things going. And then in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, when I'm back up to 100%, then I'll jump back in, take the reins back over. I mean, I know the artistic part of it's like, no, Matt Reeves is the artist. Let the artist do his work. I don't disagree with that. I also don't disagree with the idea of, hey, this is bigger than Matt Reeves. Maybe they should get things started without him and then have him come back when he's ready to do it. Anyway, Rob, number one, what do you think about the reports that are going around out there that we don't know if they're true or not, but if they were, does that kind of settle the whole thing about why we've been waiting so long? Like that answers the question, right? But then if that is the case, should maybe they look at just starting the work without him? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think from a practical standpoint, yeah, maybe they should, but it might be contractually they can't. They could be locked into some contractual.
But I mean, even Matt Reeves being a part of it, and
yeah,
saying, yeah, let's.
Yeah, I mean, if Matt Reeves was, I would say that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think you take it away from Matt Reeves if he doesn't want to.
It really does depend. And then of course there's what's happening on the DC universe side of things. Like maybe as things progress, that their plans aren't a Batman 2 doesn't seem to be in their future. I mean, I don't know what they want to do. But like you said, I think everyone really pretty much enjoyed the Batman. I know we did. And I'd love to see another one. You know, I'd love to revisit Matt Reeves' vision of Gotham. So I hope they do it. And I really hope that he's going to be okay, because I love him as a filmmaker.
Yeah, by the way, I do want to point out that in none of these reports that we've read have I read that Matt Reeves was in any kind of danger.
Right.
Like, I've never read that anything like that. Like, maybe it was serious at some point, but everything I'm just reading, and again, I cannot stand or verify the validity of these reports. I'm just telling you that I've been reading exactly what you guys have been reading. That's all. I'm not sitting here making any kind of claim to validity for those reports. But I'm saying in those reports I've read, I've never read that it was that he's in some kind of dire situation. Yeah. So I'm assuming at this point that if any of this is true, he'll be fine. That's obviously the most important thing by miles. But it's just it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get going on this soon enough. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Does that kind of, oh yeah, well, okay, yeah, if he's been kind of under the weather, that explains why we don't have Batman 2 yet. Cool.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, is there an argument to be made that maybe they could get the ball rolling without him and let him jump back in at some point? And not just for this movie, but maybe that could be a template for others as well. I don't know. I'm not saying that's a good idea or bad. I want to know what you think about it. Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right. People in the live chat are saying, just get Jonathan Voico to fill in.
Yeah.
Yep. We basically got Matt Reeves here.
What do you think I do when I'm not here?
Anyway, guys, with that all down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Spring hits and suddenly life goes from like 0 to 100. Busy season is officially in full swing over here. And honestly, who's got time to go grocery shopping? That's where Hungryroot comes in. See, because Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper. I told them my goals and they started curating groceries for me that actually fit my life. Be it smoothies, snacks, salad kits, even ready to eat meals. All clean ingredients, no artificial junk. This week, I got the grilled turkey tenderloin with pesto grilled veggies, and it was amazing. And I got my usual protein-packed snacks. It's like they're learning my taste better than I even know myself. And the best part is, I don't have to waste time driving to the grocery store and wandering the aisles. That's time I can spend doing literally absolutely anything else. Guys, I love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what are we starting off with first?
TJ Perry says, the amateur review roundup upset me. Allergic to excitement. Rami Malek is like 125 pounds. The audience would never buy him as a Punisher. It was the best part of Mr. Robot and the accountant. His brain is his only weapon, and it worked for me. I think he's talking about
who
building
said anywhere that a big physical muscular guy throwing punches is the only way to generate excitement.
No, it's about building tension.
Yeah, like excitement comes in many shapes and forms. So if you know, the one of the critics saying it feels like the director is allergic to excitement, he's not just saying, oh, because there's not a ton of action sequence. He says to them they didn't create excitement. You know one of the most exciting movies to me is? Remember War Games?
Oh yeah. Of course. I love War Games.
With Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
That's an exciting film. And there's no action in it. There's no action sequences.
Dabney Coleman.
Yeah. I forgot Dabney Coleman was in that. Remember him in
9 to 5?
Well, there was 9 to 5. The one I'm thinking of is Cloak and Dagger.
Of course. I love all of his films. I loved him as an actor.
Oh, I used to love him. You know what, the last thing that I think, well, no, he was in a couple
He was
of
in
really
Boardwalk.
HBO. He was in Boardwalk.
Yeah.
And you know what I really liked him in? I really liked him in that Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, You've Got Mail. Remember, he
Dude,
was.
I would just reference You Got Mail yesterday or whatever. I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, he was Tom Hanks's dad in that
Oh my
movie.
gosh, yeah.
Sorry, what got us onto this? Oh yes,
Oh, yeah.
excitement. Yeah. So don't assume that when the critic said that, he was just referring to, because there's no big punch him in the face. Excitement can come in many ways, shapes, and forms. There's many ways to generate excitement in a film. He's just saying, to him, he thought they failed to do it in every way. All right, what's next?
Okay. Go Celtics says, hi, John. Have you seen One of Them Days? What did you think? It's probably the biggest box office success of the year, ROI-wise. Return on investment.
Which movie is that
That's
again?
it was a comedy. It was the two women. I can't remember their names though. It was like One of Them Days.
Isn't it one of them Kiki Palmer?
yes.
Yes.
Right. No, I didn't. I love Kiki Palmer, and I didn't get around to seeing it. As a matter of fact,
I didn't like the trailers, but everyone raved about the movie.
yeah, I didn't like the trailers much either myself, but it's Kiki Palmer, and I really love her. By the way, she I don't know if she still does it. She did a game show with what's the late night hosts?
Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. She did a late night. She did a game show with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
And she
of
was
it.
awesome in it. Anyway, I remember that I was looking for movie tickets one time, and I saw that it was playing. I'm like, wait a minute, that's out. When did it come out? And it had like come out 3 weeks earlier.
Right. And
I'm like, man, they did a horrible job marketing that film. Like terrible. But I still haven't gotten around to seeing it, and I definitely will because, like I said, I'm a big fan of hers.
Password was the name of the game.
Password, yeah, she's great. Her and Fallon are actually really both good in that. It's a fun little game show. All right, what's next?
Dante says, hey guys, I found very interesting the blood splatter on the wall in Adam's dungeon. The camera panned over like it meant something. I may be way off, but could Adam possibly be a mutant superhuman that heals? We assume he's dead, but I'm not fully sold.
No, he's dead. And you know what? People then pointed out to me, and I haven't gone back to verify it, but everybody seemed to acknowledge that the blood splatter on the wall was actually a painting from the Netflix series that was on Kingpin's wall.
Oh, interesting.
Now, I again, it's been so many years since I've seen the original series. Like it's literally been like 6-7 years, 8 years since I've seen it. But so I'm just taking everybody's word for it that was actually a painting. All right, what's next?
Q says, "Hey John and everyone, love the channel. Do you think a Terminator reboot is the sort of standalone, has a new cast and takes the franchise back to its horror roots in the same style as Alien, Romulus, Prey would work, or is the franchise dead?"
You know, we were just talking about this yesterday because there's a new trailer for that anime Predator Killer of Killers, right? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you, it's hard for me to get excited about it because there was that Terminator anime that was out last year that looked like it had a lot of promise. And I quite frankly didn't think it was all that good. Right. That was just me. It's tough, man. The Terminator, let's put it this way. With both Predator and Alien, you can put them in really different environments and you can do different things and say, what if this scenario were introduced to this? Terminator is kind of a single story kind of story, right? There's this dystopian future. The machines take over the world and they're trying to wipe out humanity. And that's it. And I've been excited every time a new Terminator movie came out. And for the last bunch of years, I always walked away disappointed. Terminator Genesis, as John Schnepp used to call it. I mean, I think the Terminator thing is just done. Now, that means it could be brought back someday. Like maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now, go back, reboot it, and try it again. But right now, I just think it's a tired franchise. And again, but I thought that about Predator as well. And then Prey came along. I thought that about Alien. And then Romulus came along. That's still how I'm feeling about Terminator right now. And so I think you need to give it a break for a while. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous as a huge fan of classical music. I'm going to make a huge, bold prediction and say many years from now, John Williams will be thought of as composers from past are today, such as Mozart, Vivaldi, only difference being that they made music for ballets and operas. I used to think that at a time in my life. I disagree with that.
I also disagree. I don't think that's true. I think movie fans will look back on him like that. But he's not going to be looked back on that.
And those people were products of their time, and that music spans centuries. I mean, that was the music of the day at that time. So it's different.
Yeah. So listen, we will always, especially in our film circles, we will always revere the name of John Williams, always and forever. But no, I do not believe history will look back and have him listed among Bach and Vivaldi and things like that. So
It'll be a different category.
yeah. All right. What's next?
Nick, hey guys, I completely understand and get your reasoning behind your prediction about the specific moment in Last of Us Season 2 not happening until late in the season. In my opinion, though, I think it will happen early on, second episode at latest.
I mean, look, it's theoretically possible that the event could happen in the first episode or two, and then the actor in the particular role continues to be in there in flashbacks for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But I honestly, and I have no insider information on this. This is just me guessing as a fan, pure guessing. Okay. My guess though is that one of the main reasons I think they took the Last of Us 2 game and decided to split it into 2 seasons was specifically to delay the event from happening. So I do not think the event, and again, it's just a pure guess. I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm just saying, I don't think that because they've split it into 2 seasons, I think one of the main reasons was so they could push it off a little bit. And that's why I don't think it's going to happen till later on. We're going to find out soon.
Yeah,
Hell, it could happen this Sunday.
Yeah. We don't know.
Last of Us Season 2 returns this Sunday, folks.
And then we can stop calling it the event.
Then we can stop calling it the event.
Event Horizon.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous. The trailers have shown stuff that doesn't happen until past the halfway point in the game. So I personally think to get there and to understand Ellie's journey, we will need to see that early on. I also don't think the show will be broken up into mostly Ellie for a season, then switch to Abby. I think they will switch more frequently throughout season 2.
Yeah, I think
you're going to have to do a back and forth because they're different groups.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like in the game, like for a long time, you're Ellie. You're from the perspective of Ellie.
Yeah.
And then for a big chunk of the game, you're from the perspective of Abby. I don't think they're going to do it that way in the show. I think it's going to be, they're both going to be present throughout the show. So yeah, again, we could be wrong, but I do agree with you on that part.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
John says, I was listening to y'all talk about The Last of Us yesterday and how you think the event won't take place in the beginning of the season, but I disagree. There's a lot of post things, event things that they show in the trailer, so I agree with Jonathan, the first 2 seasons. However, I did clarify
First 2
that.
episodes.
Yeah, first 2 episodes. I did clarify that. I said, I think it'll be within the first 2 episodes if they're going linear, because there's a lot of story to tell.
Yeah.
However, if they are doing a situation where they're building the characters with flashbacks and building to something, then it will be, I agree with everyone else here, that it'll be the penultimate episode, and season 3 will be a linear story of Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, I want to remind people that Daredevil Born Again is a Frankenstein mix of 2 visions. I'm shocked it turned out this good. It must have been a nightmare for the 2 showrunners. Season 2 will be fully their story, and I'm stoked to see what they do with a clean slate.
That's not exactly true.
Yeah, we don't know how much.
Yeah, like they made season 1, and then to suggest that it was Frankenstein, and it's semantics, but suggest that they literally had 2 different shows and then just try to force them together. When they made what is the current iteration of Daredevil, when they went back to the drawing board, they still used some of they built it around the skeleton that was there, right?
Right.
They had a skeleton of a story, and they actually maintained the skeleton of the story. And so it wasn't so much as Frankensteining it in, it was what can be reused in this version, and then we move forward. So
Yeah.
I think that might actually have worked out to their benefit. I don't know if at the end of the day that ended up being a hindrance. I'm very looking forward to seeing what they can do with season 2.
100%. And I kind of agree with Rob. I kind of wonder if that bank episode was mostly from the first iteration, but I feel like the moment where he chases the character out and what he does in the alleyway to the guy, that was a pickup to connect the tone of the new iteration of that.
By the way, one of our viewers, M. Joseph, in the live chat is kind of, I think, inadvertently kind of exemplifying this. He writes, explain why so little Karen and Foggy. because they have no place in the story.
Right.
Like, see, that's a great example of how the original iteration of what the show is going to be to the new iteration isn't really a Frankenstein, because in the original iteration of the show, Foggy and Karen were not going to be there at all. In a good example of how they still just basically use the skeleton of that story, Karen and Foggy are really only there in the first episode, and then they're gone. And it's like, why aren't they there? Because they didn't serve the story that they had in mind. The story they had in mind doesn't have room for, there's no point in forcing Foggy or Karen into it if they don't have a place in the story. And so since they didn't have a place in the story at all in the original skeleton, they're only in there very, very little in the version we eventually got. Now, once they go into season 2, I'm absolutely sure we're going to see a lot more of Karen and Foggy, but we're going to have to wait till we get there to see it. All right, what's next?
Zach has a two-parter. Says, "Hey John, just wanted to say thank you so much to you and your crew for delivering great content. Excuse me. Past few weeks have been hard from losing a close friend of mine due to someone intoxicating hitting him in a car accident, and that was a devastating blow. I can only imagine. And I had COVID also.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh. So just wanted to thank you all for keeping my mind off the grief during the troubling few weeks."
I mean, we always talk about it, right? And it's always true. It's like one of the greatest things about storytelling movies and the communities that talk about them is it offers us a great reprieve, gives us a break from the things that we're dealing with. And like I always say, when we come back, the problems are still there. We're just in a better place to deal with them. And that's one of the magic of movies and the storytelling and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm glad the show can be here for you while you're doing that. Deepest condolences to the loss of your friend. And I hope you get over COVID. That can really kick your ass, man. So I hope you're recovering well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next?
Brandon says, "Hi John, I've listened to your show for about a year now, and today is my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
You recently talked about how Last of Us Season 4 could go beyond the games. What I thought could be cool is if they have Season 4 set up events of the third game.
I mean, you could, but it doesn't sound like they're it sounds like they're not going to do a third game.
Yeah. And I don't think, I think I'd want them to both have freedom moving forward with Season 4.
Yeah, see, here's the thing that they would not do. They would not have, if they were to make a third game, they don't want to limit their audience to saying, oh, you got to go and watch this TV show or else you're not going to understand our game. Like, they wouldn't want to limit themselves that way. So I don't think that's something that they would be hot on doing. But again, at this point, it doesn't even look like they're doing a third game.
There's just so many stories in that world. The second game even proved that when you end up in California later, it's like there are things happening everywhere.
Yeah, all over the place. All right, what's next?
Jedi Master Super Mario saw Warfare last night, and it's great. It's not your typical war film, but it is the most realistic depiction of war I've seen. It's small in scale, intense, and I was on the edge of my seat. Don't think I need to see this film again.
I can't wait to see it. I really can't wait to see it. Ann and I went to go see, what did we see the other day? What movie did we just go to see? We went to go see Drop.
Drop, yeah.
Went to go see Drop. And they played the Warfare trailer before it on this big Dolby screen in the AMC Prime.
Right.
And it looks bone shaking. Like I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. All right, what's next?
Kirk says, saw Warfare in IMAX last night in an early screening. It has magnificent sound design, and the movie is haunting and terrifying. Best movie of the year so far. Do you plan on watching it? Thanks for doing the show. I enjoy listening to it at work. Yes, for sure.
Again, absolutely planning on seeing it. I mean, I can't see it tonight because I'm going to go see The Amateur tonight. So maybe tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, I can get out to go see it. But yeah, it's definitely high on my list.
We got Hank Pym says, remember last year when Alex Garland said Civil War was his last movie? Well, I saw his new one, Warfare, last night. Best of the year so far. Extremely tense and brutal.
Yeah. Nobody means it. Nobody means it.
Especially
I remember
such talented creators.
I remember 10 years ago, Steven Soderbergh said, oh, I'm done now. That was my last movie. And he's made like 7 movies since.
I still don't buy Tarantino either. I don't think he's lying. I think he feels that way. But
exactly. I've said that the whole time, right? Like, I believe Quentin Tarantino believes it when he says my next movie is going to be my last movie.
I think he's way too
I believe
creative.
he believes that,
Yeah.
but I don't buy it at all. He's a creative force of nature.
Yeah.
At some point, it's going to be too much. He's going to get the creative itch. He'll ignore it for a while. Then that itch is going to become compulsion. Then he'll sit down one day. It's like, well, if I was doing this movie, what would it be like? And he'll start typing it out. Then it's be like, goddamn, I got to make this movie. It's going to happen. He's going to make another movie. Hell, even the greatest of all time, Daniel Day-Lewis, the goat of goats, even he didn't mean it. He retired. Now he's coming out of retirement. Granted, it's to be in his son's movie, but still. He had stayed retired for a number of years, but now even he's coming back. So I never believed them. All right, what's next?
Charlie says, hey, crew, Deadline's reporting that Adam Green's Hatchet newest movie, The Ascent, is filming people trapped in a hot air balloon 3,000, probably 30,000, but maybe 3,000 feet in the air. Sounds like Adam will have another fun time. One of my favorite directors. And I say 30 because I feel like it's going to go out of control.
I am there, baby.
Hatchet was pretty fun. Also think he directed. Now, correct me in the live chat if I'm wrong about this. I think he directed a movie with Sean Ashmore, or at least one of the two Ashmore brothers, where the whole premise of the movie sounds very similar to that. It's where these people are at a ski resort.
Oh, yeah, that one.
They're on the ski lift, and it gets turned off, and the staff don't know they're there, and they get abandoned there overnight, and they're freezing to death. But the problem is, as they look down on the ground, there's a pack of giant gray wolves.
That movie is so good. I thought that movie was really good.
I was called Frozen in 2010. Now, was that Adam that directed it? I think it was. So the movie was called Frozen, not to be confused with Let It Go.
That was directed
that was a
by
pretty
Adam
good movie.
Green.
Adam Green.
That was Adam Green. Okay, yeah. That's a pretty good movie. I gotta say, I liked Frozen.
Yeah.
He throws his goggles at the get out.
It's freaky.
Yeah,
It's freaky.
but goggles aren't going to hurt the wolf.
Hatchet was Hatchet. I mean, whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. I didn't know he was still directing, to be honest with you.
I do
didn't
like
know.
the premise of this new one, though.
But it sounds a little bit like Frozen, doesn't
but
it?
I mean, come on. No one's ever thought about it, especially if you've ever thought about going on a hot air balloon, that situation happening.
Side note, when Ann and I like to go camping, there's an area we love going called, it's right by Temecula.
Yeah.
It's called Lake.
Oh my God, I know the lake.
Now I can't remember the name of the lake. Anyway, it's close to Temecula, California, down by about
Elsinore.
Nope.
Oh, it's not Elsinore.
Lake
Okay.
Elsinore is very close to here.
Okay.
But it's about half hour away from San Diego, right? So it's really down far south.
Yeah.
And it's in beautiful wine country and all that kind of stuff. But several times a year, they have this giant hot air balloon
It's so pretty.
festival.
So pretty.
And so as we're driving to our campgrounds, we'll see like dozens of these giant hot air balloons flying over. And now I'm going to think about that.
So Harveston Lake.
Yeah. You watch.
Nope.
Well, there's a lot of lakes around there. It's hard to say. It's like Diamond Valley Lake, Butterfield Lake. There's a ton.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up and see what it was. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. though.
Lake Talk.
Vale Lake.
Oh, okay.
Vale is
Vale,
the name of it.
gotcha.
Okay.
Blake, you guys have already have you guys already discussed this? But did you watch 1923 season 2? I love season 2, and they stuck the landing, in my opinion. Maybe the best acting Harrison Ford has done in decades. And side note, I think he means I could see Brandon Sklar becoming a star. Maybe even Bruce Wayne.
Well, he's in Drop right now. Go see him in Drop.
Right.
I did not watch season 2. I do not plan on watching season 2. I
Dang.
tapped out. I tried season 1. I tried. Every moment season 1 of 1923 was about Harrison Ford and
Yeah. Helen
Judi
Mirren.
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren. Every moment that the show was about them, I was completely riveted.
And that's what they used for their promotional material.
Yeah, it was all that. It was all that. But most of the show is about these painful, boring, long cutaways to one of their kids who's off living in Africa now. And, oh, he meets this girl, and, oh, we're on a boat. And as it became excruciating to watch. And so I just tapped out. So I do not plan on watching season 2. But I've heard Harrison Ford's really good in it. But yeah, I had tapped out of season 1. All right, what's next?
TJ Perry says Warfare is awesome. Think Black Hawk Down. I was saying that. Plus A24 flavor. IMAX is non-negotiable. The sound design is next level, although if you can get into like a Dolby Cinema, that's going to be great sound too. Made me jump more times than most horror movies. Cosmo Jarvis, Joseph Quinn, young Gandolfini, and Will Poulter are incredible. Okay, you know what's funny? I didn't even bother to think about the cast because the trailer just looks so great, and this makes me more excited.
Yeah. Again, seeing it, like I said, I've seen the trailer before, but seeing it the other night on the AMC Prime Dolby screen with that Dolby Atmos surround sound, I'm like, this looks like an experience you got to have. So I'm pretty stoked about going to see it. All right, what's next?
Don says Netflix stock is worth $900. How they deserve it despite undiversified portfolio. At least we know who enables no theatrical releases and shitty stuff like Electric State and the bad Devil May Cry show. It won't change thanks to the stock.
Yeah, look, and one of the things that like almost all stock analysts would tell you is that Netflix is overvalued.
It's valued more than that because they've done splits, so it was even higher.
Yeah.
So
It is an overvalued stock. And there's going to be a correction on it at some point. But still, it's such an innovator, right? It's such a disruptor, Netflix has been. So, and yeah, they still make really crappy movies. Every once in a while, I'll be the first to tell you, they put out a really good, but the problem is like 1% of their original films are worth watching. Like most of them are just utter crap. But anyway, all right, what's next?
we got member of Josie's Bar, Matt, lawyer to lawyer. DD realizing Foggy was a hit job because he was celebrating that he knew he was going to win, as in a win that hadn't happened yet. Madness. Did you bump against that too, or are you fully recovered from your time practicing law? Was that a quote from the episode? Because I haven't finished the episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, Matt is kind of piecing together why Foggy got taken out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's still, having worked in law, it still really does frustrate me when I see certain things done in TV shows or movies that would never be allowed to happen. Never be allowed to happen. Ever in 1,000 years. I hate to ruin a lot of your favorite courtroom drama scenes, but like, yes, Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call Mrs. X to the stand.
Oh, that
And
never
everybody's like,
happened?
What? And everybody's surprised? No, you are very much not allowed to do that. You are very much not allowed to do that. There is no, we'd like to introduce into evidence this murder weapon. And everybody's surprised. Never allowed to happen. That shit cannot happen. It is not allowed. 100% not allowed. Anyway.
Real quick, do you remember, speaking of Netflix and dropping, I was looking at the charts again because I remember that it had corrected hugely. It was right before we moved into the other studio out
Yes.
here, and it was around 700, and it went all the way down to like over a period of few weeks, it went down to like 160 from 700. We had just moved into the new studio and we were talking about that.
All recovered from there.
Yeah.
But it is set
Wow.
for another correction at some point. I'm not terribly low, but
Right.
it'll get closer to its value. It's not a very good valuation right now.
All right,
what's next?
156 Impulse. I saw a question on Threads and it asked, have you realized that Vanessa is Kingpin of Daredevil Born Again? Is this true? Thanks, guys. Love Born Again. Can't wait for Punisher to return.
Well,
She took over his business.
I mean, it hasn't been hidden. It's been very explicit
Yeah.
on the thing. Vanessa had been running the business in the absence of Wilson. That's not some hidden thing to figure out. That's been explicit. They've gone back and referred to that several times. Even with the tracksuit guy saying things are better when you were in charge, Vanessa. You should be in charge again. So they've been pretty explicit about that, and that's what's going to make them. If my theory is wrong, because I'm theorizing that both Vanessa and Heather die in the finale. Again, just a fan theory. I could be totally wrong. But if it's not, you're going to see an even more powerful Vanessa and Kingpin relationship because they're both Kingpin in many ways. So that's fascinating to me. Actually, I loved it when Vanessa, like Matt's dancing with her and he's like revealing to her, I know you did it. She goes, does Heather know you're Daredevil? And she like brushes his shoulder. Like, I love the Vanessa character.
Yeah.
I've loved her since the Netflix series. I think she's such a great character. And the fact that she is the only character on the planet that has Wilson Fisk wrapped around her finger. And she knows it. And Wilson knows it. And he's totally cool with it. I love that character. I love that relationship. I could watch an entire Wilson and Vanessa rom-com.
Okay.
Do a WandaVision 60s rom-com of just Vanessa and Wilson. Just every day they bring home somebody else to break their kneecaps or something. I'd totally be down for that. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, it's been confirmed that season 2 of The Pit will take place 10 months after season 1. It's going to take place during 4th of July weekend, so okay. So you're going to have a lot of missing hands. I'm sensing another chaotic shift. Also, season 2 is coming in January, so we don't have to wait that long.
God, I got to admit, when I first heard about The Pit, I thought, oh, another medical procedural. Here we go. It's special. It's a special show, man. It's intense and riveting. And again, it's ER crossed with 24. It's all, the show is in real time. Every 1 hour episode is 1 hour of the day, taking the whole season through one messy, chaotic, heartbreaking day. And Noah Wyle, man. We've all known Noah Wyle forever, but this has been a complete revelation. Like, this is Noah Wyle for the first time really showing what he's capable of. And man, he's turned into a world-class actor. World-class actor. You're going to hear his name come Emmy time. 100%. Whether he wins or not, not sure, but you'll absolutely hear his name read out loud several times at the Emmys. All right, what's next?
Here's our last tip. June G says, have you ever been frightened by a scary movie as an adult that made you leave your lights on?
No, except for movies that have terrified me since I was a kid. The one, and it's the only one I can really think of, the movie that to this day I can't put on at night unless the lights are on. And that is An American Werewolf in London. Not to be confused with the long after crappy sequel, American Werewolf in Paris.
The Howling did that to me as a kid.
The Howling would be another really good one. But yeah, American Werewolf in London, man.
You know,
that thing scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and it is there forever in my psyche.
The
forever.
only thing I can think of, and this goes back years because it was the Blair Witch, but it was the moment when they're in the woods and you hear the children playing in the woods in the distance.
Whoa.
And I was like, I got a chill, and I turned my lights on.
I mean, they play, man. Kids play.
Yeah, in the middle of the forest.
What's wrong with
That's what I'm
that?
saying.
Kids play.
When you know it's a witch making that sound.
Mine is it has to be just The Grudge. That's the newer one, I think, and even the older one where she's going up the stairs, and then if you look down, like if you're in a stairwell and you see like that hand that's coming up, like she's coming up. Every now and then, if I take the emergency stairs, like somewhere like Vegas, like in a hotel, because I don't want to take the elevator. If I'm by myself and that comes up in my head, I will definitely run up faster than I started. So yeah,
That's funny.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, so yes, there you go. But I love a good horror movie, but I gotta admit, they don't scare me. I mean, I
Yeah.
can get a good jump scare and I can feel the creeps and stuff like that, but they don't really affect me that way. But that one just does. All right.
All right, gonna hear from our members here.
Yeah.
Hello, or Matt says hello. Hey, John and crew. How much damage do you think the film Cats has done to Tom Hooper's career? Thanks, Bring on the Filth.
It practically killed it. Tom Hooper is an amazing director. An amazing director. Like, he directed, seriously, I think my favorite Best Picture winning film of the past, like, 15 years, which was The King's Speech. Like, just amazing. He directed a fabulous film in The Danish Girl, which was just fantastic. He's remarkable. He's absolutely a remarkable director. And then he did Cats. And I think the only thing he's done since, no, that's really it.
Oh,
He's done a couple of commercial things, but that's been it.
Damn.
He is that's how bad Cats was and how brutally it flopped. He's a excellent director, and it has killed his career. It's been 6 years since we've really heard anything from him. And I don't know, maybe it scarred him. Listen, this is the guy who directed the King's Speech. There will be studios that will take meetings with him if he's got a pitch. Maybe it's just scarred him so much that he's wanting to stay away for a while. I don't know. But yeah, it really derailed his career, no doubt. You know what it reminded me of? Michael Myers
Oh no!
after the Love
The
Guru.
Love
Yeah.
Guru.
I was so pissed after I saw that film.
So bad.
I didn't even want to see it, but then my group wanted to go see it. We went to go see it. I was so mad after.
But that really bothered me because it hit him so hard, and I felt so bad for him because he's such an amazing talent.
Yeah.
That I wish he could have overcome that because his body of work outshined that.
Oh no, that's it. Michael Myers is not only from every report is one of the most wonderful human beings in the business and a purely singularly hilarious comedic talent. But everybody has a bad day at the office. And I think one of the problems was with the Love Guru is that Mike Myers has never done anything that everybody hated.
Right.
So he's just accustomed. It's just a normal Monday that people love him.
Right.
And then he did the Love Guru. And it was terrible. It was really bad, sure. But it's just everybody has a bad day at the office. But it affected him so badly and so deeply that he just utterly disappeared like forever. And I don't think anybody in the movie, like, yeah, we all acknowledge that was a bad movie, but tell me if he didn't put out another movie, oh my God, How I Married an Axe Murderer is one of the greatest comedies of all time. Like, forget Austin Powers, and those are all great.
Yeah.
But like Married an Axe Murderer, stuff like that.
Wayne's World before that.
The Wayne's World stuff, whatever. He's brilliant. And then he even had that one little role in Inglourious Basterds.
Well, that's when he started to dip his toe.
Yeah, stick his head
Yeah.
out of the sand a little bit. Say, hey, everybody, I'm still here. But that was self-exile,
Yes.
right? That was totally self-exile.
I could see him having like a what do you call that? A renaissance or whatever. Like
Yeah,
after Shrek 5, maybe start appearing on a lot more things, maybe in our face, like 2 or 3.
I hope.
Even if they're just cameos, just in the spotlight again.
Get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see Mike Myers make a resurgence. He's just too funny. The world needs him. All right, one more question today. What do we got?
Let's see. We already did. Okay, let's mix it up here then. Matt says, I'm writing about the new show, Adolescence. It took me by surprise with its realism and question on our society. Best show I saw this year and better than The Pit. Couldn't recommend more.
Yeah,
What is it streaming on?
A lot of people have been writing in about Adolescence.
Netflix.
Netflix. A lot of people have been writing in about Brad Pitt's a producer of that, by the way. I've been writing in about it, how much great it is. Again, I would like to see it. I probably will see it at some point. It's just, I don't know when I'm going to get around to it. All right, let's take one more.
All right. This one's kind of cool. Joshua Gonzalez's first time watching Smallville all the way through.
Oh, neat.
Surprisingly holds up so well. Any show from the last 20 years you've watched again and again. I mean, I always go back to Scrubs.
Scrubs is a good
It holds
one.
up, I feel. So,
Parks and Rec.
oh yeah.
I can go back to Parks and Rec, and I don't even know how old that show is. I know it recently had its 10th anniversary of the finale. I think. But yeah, Parks and Rec is definitely one that I can literally, I say this all the time on the show. And when Ann and I make dinner, we can sit down in the living room, literally pop on Parks and Rec and play Parks and Rec roulette, where we just spin through the episodes,
sure. Yeah.
hit play on any one of them.
Yeah.
And we know we're
You
going to
can do that with The Office as well. Those movies are those shows.
I recently started watching Workaholics again.
Ah.
I just
That
think
was a
it's
pretty
just
good
so
one.
corny. And then there's this show, I don't know if any of you watched it. I don't even know if I could say it. It was on G4 TV. It was called Code Monkeys.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I just started rewatching that too. So yeah, that's it.
And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey guys, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow. Just a reminder again that if you just joining us late, whatever, you can still send in topics and questions for us to address on the show anytime 24/7. using our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And as long as we deem it appropriate to be read on our show, you can see your question or topic read on our next episode. All right. I want to thank the people in the room with me, in the room with me,
In the
Ray
world.
Ora,
See you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico,
Real world return.
and big thanks to
Come on.
Robert Meyer Burnett, and especially to you guys. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.